Hi, host Eric here, and today I'm talking with famous people. I thought I would be fun to go through these uncovered things on socionics.com and let INTP try to defend themselves. These are kind of funny articles about all the things that are actually bad about any given type. If there were weirdness Olympics between all 16 types, then INTj would be an unbeatable gold medalist. In fact, INTPs, this is what we're talking about, are so weird that they do not just appear weird to people who don't know them, but to other INTPs as well. This is because INTPs take little or no notice of what other people think. What they think themselves is much more important to INTPs. That is why if everybody is certain that bridges have to be built across the river, an INTP may contemplate the possibility of building one along the river. There would be probably a logical reason for that, since INTPs view everything through the square prism of logic. And as long as logical rules are obeyed, everything is fine. I think, therefore I am, once said Rene Descartes, clearly delighted at the fact that he can think. But what he really meant was, I stink, therefore I am. Since INTPs can often deprive themselves of a good bath and can happily live in a pigsty where nobody watches. They miserably fail to understand the basic needs of their bodies and therefore do not address them as a first priority. This goes for food and sex too. But do INTPs enjoy tasty food and sex? Sure, when you stick it under their noses. And what do they do? And what do they do to have plenty of fine food and meaningless sex? Precisely nothing. The latter one could be explained by the fact that by default INTPs are socially handicapped. Combined with their closely guarded fear of intimacy, this makes it pretty hard for INTPs to get laid, resulting in many INTPs being either virgins or remaining celibate for a long time. Marked with inability to clearly read people's true disposition towards themselves, INTPs compensate for it with their acquired ability to piss people off. This is rather a defensive than an offensive mechanism. It works on the principle that an angry person has very little control over their emotions and therefore cannot suppress their true feelings, which often keeps the truth from coming out. INTPs normally do not apply this principle to anybody unless they are unsure. So long as you are true and sincere with an INTP, you should be fine. You can't really deny that INTPs are pretty adept at many things, but one thing INTPs are really good at is over-tightening the screws, whether it is said in a metaphorical or in a literal sense. Having natural inability to judge amounts and distributions of forces often leads them to overdo things. For instance, if you ask an INTP to design a good chair to withstand the weight of one adult, when it is finished, it would probably withstand the weight of one adult elephant. Finally, if you hear a sarcastic remark from an INTP, you should know you are on dangerous ground, i.e. you said something stupid. To continue in the same direction would be unwise. However, if you want to enrage an INTP, all you need to do is make the same stupid remark over and over again, but more importantly, you have to stand by your words, i.e. show you really mean it. Why would anyone want to do that? Okay, so that's what it says. This is actually a fairly gentle one. Some of them are kind of rough on the types. That's what it says. Any INTPs in the room want to comment upon that? Again, that's not my words. That's from socionics.com, where I read it from. I would say that when you want to chime in, Lauren, just interrupt me, or anybody else who wants to talk who's an INTP who knows better than me. But I would say that when you read something like that, there's a mistake in dismissing NTPs in general as incapable of engaging in that kind of attachment, which we can. It just takes a little bit of practice, and it takes practice basically coming to terms with our own sense of vulnerability. I think that's where ENTPs have a bit of an advantage over INTPs. It's a little easier for us to come to terms with our own vulnerability. You guys with FE way down the fourth slot. The funny thing is, of course, your what's it called? Demonstrative function is FI. So that's what makes it weird. Marjay, can you please tell me about that? Why would it be the case that the INTP comes across as so emotionally distant when FI is their role function? Which one is it? Marjay knows.
I thought you said it was their demonstrative, their eighth function.
Their eighth function is demonstrative, is that right?
I think so. I don't know.
What's the INTP's demonstrative function in socionics?
If we just use numbers, I'd be able to do it, but I don't know the names of the socionics.
Oh, Marjay is having technical difficulties. Give me a second. Okay, Marjay, you have 1 second.
I don't think INTPs have that much of an incapability to get laid.
Right. I don't think so either. I think that they don't have any problem with it. They're generally considered very cool and desirable. The guys are considered that dark brooding type that the girls want to discover the mystery of. And the girls are, usually skinny. It tends to go along with INTP, ENTP. And unfortunately, in this world, that matters a lot to some people, and chicks don't have any problem getting laid anyway. I just advertise online that I'm an INTP on Tumblr and say that I'm looking to get laid. Just bar the door. Okay, well, it's certainly not my experience. Of course, I'm not actually looking to get laid. That's the thing. We're talking about it as though whether or not INTPs or ENTPs can get laid. I don't know about INTPs. ENTPs, as a general rule, I don't believe are looking to quote-unquote get laid. I think we're looking to find a relationship that meets our needs and then never have to think about relationship shit again.
Well, I don't know. In my case, I see your point for INTPs being infantile, and so is the fact that they want probably to be more comfortable with their partner when engaging in the act.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, that doesn't stop with the libido at all.
Right. Yeah, and certainly that's another age thing as well. I can tell you another thing that NTPs are famous for is having reduced libido as they get older. You got that to look forward to. It's actually not a problem. It's kind of like, oh, good, I don't have to think about that shit anymore. I mean, it's a matter of frequency, right? It's a matter of frequency of times in which you've got to think about that shit. And when you're younger, it's a lot higher frequency than when you're older. Okay, so what else? What is this topic we're talking about? Oh yeah, we're talking about. Oh yeah, INTP Uncovered. So I think the INTP Uncovered, basically, the gist of it is they would love to be free to frolic and play without worrying about social stuff. And the reality is they're not very free to frolic and play because they're constantly worried about being vulnerable to social criticisms or something like that. And so that's why they like hanging out with ENTPs, because they always know that they can sort of frolic and play a little less than we do, or a lot less depending on their nature, and that they'll always come across cool by comparison because we're going to be too much, and yet they don't have to worry so much about making the decision to frolic and play themselves. That's what my theory about INTPs is. And I open one last time up for any comments on this topic. What do you think, Lorenz Walker? Are you finding something in the chat?
Yeah. INTP's red grandma thought she could swim because she was good at it 100 years ago, and she almost drowned.
Who says that?
Dusky Racer.
My grandma thought she could swim because she was good at it 100 years ago. What? T-Rex arms. So Lorenz Walker and INTP Red are having a competition between who's less athletic. Hello, Chad Crandall. We're just drawing this video to a close here. Thanks for watching Talk with Fence People.